fourth class, the fourth live class for the Python for Data Science bootcamp program. So like we usually do, this is a recap session. And today we'll be starting off with Pandas. That's what we have on our schedule. We'll be starting off with the Pandas package. On the LMS, let me just quickly navigate to the place quickly. The LMS. We should have, there were some introduction videos that you should have watched before now. So we'll be doing a recap of these concepts on our curriculum. So let me just go to the LMS. We'll start dropping our questions if you have questions. So we have the Slido link for each, being that we have just we have a very short time duration for each before each Slido link expires. So the expiration duration is just for within 7 days. So we cannot use a single Slido link for all the sessions. That's why we have for each class, we have a Slido link. And those links can be found on the training schedule. So for today, which is a class 4, you have the link here where you could drop your questions. So if you've dropped questions in the previous links, we should have answered them in the live class for that particular session. So if they are not answered, you can bring it forward to today's class so that they can be attended to. Because for previous links, they've expired and there's no way we can reactivate answering those questions. So I just thought to clarify that. All right. So today we'll be starting off quickly. Like we do, we'll be doing a recap session for 1 hour, about for 50 minutes to 1 hour. Then afterwards, we having our question and answer session. So today is 25th, which is a live class that is currently ongoing. All right. So if we're actually following the LMS, of course, you should have seen the schedule for today. So for previous days, you should have gone through Pandas introduction. There's a video module as well, and then and tried your hand on some of those walkthroughs. All right, so we'll be doing a recap today of today's class. So I'm going to get started right away. Today we'll be covering, we'll be using, like we do, we'll be using a notebook to like tie up all the concepts together. If we want the in-depth explanation of those concepts, we need to watch the videos on the LMS, as well as they are on the YouTube as well. So the videos of our past boot camps are there, where we covered all these concepts in depth. So we'll just be doing like a recap and a review of some of these concepts. So we'll be covering Pandas package, introduction, data inputs and outputs, index, Pandas merge, join, and concatenate. So for this, moving into the next class. All right. So let's get started. We have this notebook. This Pandas review challenge should be it should be an exercise, right? But then we'll be walking through the challenge together, and then we'll leave you with other there are more intensive exercises that you would do. This time around, you would have to use a data set to do those exercises. All right, so we'll be working through this challenge together. That's what we'll be doing today. Okay, so the Pandas package, like last class, we talked about the NumPy package, which is the numerical Python, which is good for in Python. If you want to do any advanced numerical computation using arrays, you can use NumPy. But however, in data analysis, data science, you'll be doing you'll be having so many interaction with tabular data. And for the data analytics process, right, you have the different stages at which you need to carry out some certain kind of activity. All right. So in the data analysis process, you have the data collections phase where you have to gather your data for the particular problem you have at hand. If you're working in the company, probably you have access to the company data. If maybe you have an app where you're using to create data, you have a data set that you're working with. However, the first phase after gathering of your data sets, you need to make sense of the data. You need to use some tools, and that's why we are learning Python. You need to use some tools to help you make sense of the data. And that's where the data analysis stage comes into play. And in the process of you doing data analysis, that's when you start using your Python, Pandas package. People for data analysis, you can use some other SQL for, doing some data cleaning and manipulations as well. But then for Python process, we use Pandas for data manipulation. So at the data analysis phase, I'll group it data cleaning, where I haven't gathered your data because real life data sets are actually very messy. They will not be as cleaned as we would have it on our exercises, right? You can normally when you're carrying out surveys, you have people, inputs wrong. They'll give you wrong inputs and all of that. So you as a data analyst or a data scientist, you have to have those tools or those skill sets to be able to deal with cleaning of your data set. And that's why we are learning Pandas. Okay. So I just want to give you a background of why this package is very, very important. So in your data science pipeline, like you have the data gathering. So when we get to machine learning, we'll be explaining the data analysis process. All right, in a more intensive way. But I just thought to, introduce you to this so that you would have an understanding of where we are coming from. All right. So Pandas is a very strong package. It's a Python package used for data manipulation. Okay, you use it to manipulate Excel files. You can use it to manipulate CSV files. That's the comma separated values. You can use it to manipulate different JSON file type, right? And its data structure that it uses is called the Pandas data frame. The data frame is similar to like a tabular form of data structure. So Pandas works with a lot of Pandas works with Pandas data frame. So you'll be understanding what data frame means as we proceed. So for people that are beginners that don't really know what is Pandas and all of that, just pay attention. It's not difficult. All right. It's very, very interesting to learn. Okay, so that being said, because this is not the full class, right? The full class, we took you through how the introduction to the Pandas package, the data inputs and outputs. That is, how do you input data into your how do you do data inputs in Pandas? How do you do data outputs in Pandas? All right, and how do you do indexing and selection as well? Okay. And then how to merge different data sets together, how to join them, how to join different tables together, how to concatenate different tables together. So all of those were covered in the video. So that's why you need to watch those video recordings. They're also available on YouTube. All right, so that's being said, we are going to jump right into the exercise. Can we still hear me? If you can hear me, you can just give a thumbs up or you can react so that you're following. I've not seen any reaction. Can you all hear me? Can you still hear me? I just want to confirm if you can still hear me. Hello, can you all hear me? Hello, everybody. Can you still hear me? Hello, can you hear me? I wasn't hearing anyone for a while. Okay, all right. I think I lost connection at some point. I wasn't hearing anyone for a while. All right. Okay, so let us continue. I don't know where you stopped hearing me, but let's just proceed. Okay, so I was just explaining the reason why Pandas is actually very important in our data analysis learning, getting to do data analysis or data science. So when you want to do data manipulations, you'll be working with a lot of tabular data. For example, like I mentioned, Excel files, CSV files, and all of that. And to manipulate your data, you need to have an understanding of how to use Pandas. Okay, so in data analysis, right? Why do we do data analysis? We do data analysis because we want to get insight, we want to make sense of seemingly raw data. When you're, I'm sure you must have heard the word data is like crude oil. When you're using, you have a crude oil, you don't really know what might come out of it. But the more you refine it, if it goes through the refinery, begin to see the beauties of the products of crude oil. That's what data is. So most times you might have data set, large banks of data banks and data sets, but you don't know what information you can derive from that data set if you don't put it through analysis. And that's why we are learning Pandas to know how to analyze data. All right, so we'll be tying some concepts together. The first thing we'll be doing is for Pandas, before you can use Pandas package, you have to import it. And if it's not installed on your Anaconda distribution, you need to pip install it. So assuming I run this cell and it shows an error, right? It shows an error like Pandas not module not found. That means I don't have Pandas installed, but because I have Pandas package installed already, I'm not getting such error. So to use Pandas, just like NumPy, any package in Python, you have to do import package as the any short form word that you can easily reference during the, just like my name is Grace. I can give an alias of maybe GR so that anybody calling Grace can easily see GR. I believe you understand what alias means. All right, so import Pandas as PD. This is what people use. All right, so this line is just to print Pandas version. So you might have different version for my system. So I have a 1.53 version used at the moment. Okay. So can you all still hear me? Someone is saying you cannot hear me. All right. Okay, great. Okay, I see you. All right. So having done that, right, the first question we are going to be addressing is the Pandas series. So the first question says create a Pandas series called Q1 from an array ARR. So now we can see that we are bringing our knowledge of array into Pandas, right? And we didn't just jump at array, it was from list. Now you can convert a list. This is a list, right? Being converted to an array using NumPy, np.array, and then you convert this to you convert this list to an array, and then you're calling it ARR. Now you can convert an array into series. So in order to in the data input and output video, we explained the different ways by which you can create a Pandas object. And what I mean is that you have to, before you use Pandas function on any of those objects, you have to convert it to a Pandas, either a Pandas series or a Pandas data frame. So you can create a Pandas object from an array. You can create it from a dictionary. You can create it from a tuple. You can create it from a series. You can create it from a list. All right. So they are different. If you watch the video, you would understand what I'm explaining, right? But because of our time, I'll just use a solution-based approach to explain the concept. So we can create a Pandas series using from an array, and this is the array. And what this does is that a Pandas series is just like a single row on your table. Assuming I have an Excel file here, so let me just see if I can open Excel, side by side. Where can I get that from now? Let me see if I can get that from my drive. All right. Assuming we all know an Excel file, right? So the series is just like a single column. A single column in your Excel file, in your tabular file, right? Like Excel is a tabular file. Okay, so we've created the Pandas series. To create the Pandas series, you have to use PD, that is the Pandas data frame. Now, we don't have to call Pandas because we've given it an alias. We can just say PDs.series, and then we create this Pandas series. Now, it's no more an array. It's now like a single column entry. Now, we want to create another Pandas. Now, the next question says, create a Pandas series object called Q2 from the array with an index A, B, C, D. Now, we want to create another series called what? Q2. All right. But this time around, we want to rename this index. The index here, this is the index 0, 1, 2, 3. We want to rename it to what? A, B, C, D. So how do we go about that? How do we do that? All what we just need to do is that we can still use so I'm going to add a new cell. All right. So I'll start to create another Pandas series called Q2, right? From the above ARR, this same ARR. This is the first Pandas series we created. We want to create another one. So how do you create a Pandas series? The same way you created this one. That's the same way you're going to create the second one. But we are going to do PD dots. Now, it's case sensitive. It's capital letters S, then series, IES, comma, the name of the array, which is the ARR up there, this array. But this time around, if you check, like I explained in previous classes, you can check the doc string or the documentation of this for the inputs, because by default, it does not give it an index. You see that it accepts, the first thing it accepts is the data, which you've supplied. The data that we want to convert to is called ARR, right? The next thing that it accepts is the index. Okay, by default, the index is none, and that's why we have 0, 1, 2, 3. But now the question says that we should create a series with an index. So we can now, since we know that it can accept an argument called index, you can just say index equals to. Now, because the index is A, B, C, D, it has to be in a list, right? We are defining our index. It has to be in a what? In a list format, so that we would be, it would be properly defined. going to be in quotes because those variables are user defined. They are not, it's not like we've created A, B, C, D earlier. That's why we are putting it in the quotes, because index, the first index will be A, the second index will be B, next one C, next one D. We can check the documentation further if there was a sample of any. Okay, there's no other. Let me see if there's. Okay. So here it's going to give you, yeah, so you can see now, so values must be hashable. So the index can be array-like or index 1D. So something like this. Values must be hashable and have separate length as data, have the same length as data. So it gives you more idea of what the structure of the data that you're supplying to index looks like. Okay, so we'll default to the range of 0, 1 to n. You can see that if not provided, it's supplying 0, 1 to n, like we have up there. But now, because we've provided, if data is dictionary like and the index is not, then the keys in the data are used as the index. So if it's a dictionary, they use, it automatically picks the keys as index. So you can see that from there, it's already showing you. Now you can see an example here now. So this is a dictionary D. So this is you creating a Pandas series from a dictionary, supplying the data D and the index now AB. So it guides you on how your code should look like. All right. So if you don't even know how to go about it the first time, once you read the documentation, you'll be properly guided. All right. So that said, let's move on quickly. So we've created question 2. Now let's bring it out. Okay, saying ARR not defined. So I have to go back to run the cell again. All right. Gonna run the cell again. And then run the cell. Where's the next one? I'm gonna run the cell. All right, you see now that I've gotten, now see the answer is the same. So we have this as our answer. All right. Okay. Sorry, I need to create a copy of this quickly so that I don't mess up the original. All right. Okay, so let's continue. We've done the first, second question. Now the third says index the C instance from the Q2 series and save it as Q3. Now, if you follow the video, you will understand how do you do indexing. You can use your there are different ways of indexing in Pandas. All right. You can use, there's something called the lock and the iLock. All right. And there is another way of indexing using your square brackets directly. So for you to index using the name of the index, not the location this time, I want you to take note of the difference. Now, this is your index, right? Here now, our index is now what? Index A, B, C, D. Before it was 0, 1, 2, 3. So for you to index any value, any record using the index name, this is the name of the index now. If this is the location of this index is was location 0, location 1, location 2, location 3, but the index name here is index A, B, C, and D. So if you are using the index you're using the index name, you use the lock. But if you are using the index itself, you use the iLock. So I'm going to show you the difference. All right. So now the question says index C instance from Q2 series and save it as Q3. Now we're saving as Q3. That's why I said Q3 equals. So the Q2 instance is Q2 dot what? Dot lock, because we want to index using our location address, which is C. Okay. So this index, okay, I have to run Q2. I don't know why I keep getting all this all the error. Okay, because it's a new notebook, so I have to run from the beginning. I had saved it. I made a copy, so I have to run it from the beginning. All right, let me do that real quick. Okay, I think I'm there already. All right, so we have now you can see that using the index name, you're using the lock, all right? And you want to index the C instance. The C role is what? Minus, I mean, the record is -3. So to index out this record, you use the lock. So you can see that it's different from our array indexing and our list indexing. It's kind of similar, but then the way you index now is different. So to index using the location, I mean the index address, use lock, index values using the address. Then you use ilock to index index number. All right, so now I'm going to show you the ilock now. Let me do q2.ilock. So the index number for Q3 is what? Who can tell me what the index number for C is? Can someone drop that on the chart quickly? Index number for C, if you're following location for C. All right, great, 2. So it's 2, right? So when you put 2 here, you can see that it's going to return the same value because we are using the ilock. You can see that it's using, but if you do lock 2, it's going to throw an error because it doesn't have 2 as the location. Understand the difference now. Okay. All right. So if you're using the index, let me use the index number. All right. You use the what? ilock. But if you're using the index address, you use the lock. Okay. I believe we get the difference of the first question. So let me just comment this. The next, we've solved that question. Let's just move on. So the next question says, make a copy of Q2, the C instance in Q4 to 0. Now, what we are told to do is that we want to create a copy. I explained why we create a copy in the last class. We create a copy because most times you want to retain your original. For example, I still want to use Q2 for something else. And if I'm going to make any update on Q2, original data frame, all right? So that's why I have to create a copy. Okay, why do you copy something from somewhere? It's because you want to reserve that thing so that nothing. So that's why we are doing our copy. So now the question says, make a copy of Q2. This is Q2. This is Q2, which is our Panda series with the ABCD index. All right, so want to create a copy of it and call it what? Q4. So how do we? The last class we said dot copy words method 2.copy. This creates the copy automatically. So when we print out Q4 now, it should be the same thing as what your key. Now you see that it's the same thing. 48 minus 3 1, 48 minus 3 1. Okay. All right. So now the next question says that change the C instance of in Q4, that is this one, change it to 0. How do we achieve that? Using our knowledge of lists, and then dictionaries that we did in our previous classes and the arrays that we did in our previous classes. You know that anytime you want to update an element in your list or your array, use what? The index. You first of all, index out that element and assign the new value to that element. Let me take it again. You want to change this value from -3, all right, to 0. This -3. That is, you have to index it out and assign 0. So that's how you do it. So however you want to do it, you can either use your lock or your iLock. All right, so long as you're using the right syntax. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to say Q4. We have to index. How do we index out the location tree? Can you just say Q4? Now that we're using the index number, we can say iLock2. Normally Q4.iLock2 gives us what? 3. It's the index out 3. But we want to change it, we want to update it. To update it, you just assign it the new value. And what happens? It automatically Q4 now. Let's see what Q4 will give us. You can see that -3 has been changed to 0. I believe we get the explanation. So if you have any question, the Slido link is there. You can drop your question. All right. So you can also use the other. You can also use the lock to do the indexing. However you want to use it, it's up to you, right? So long as you're doing the right thing. Okay. So when you're using the lock this time around, you will not use what C, and then you assign it 0. So now we've done that, and then we are good. So you see the reason why we had to create a copy. If you had not created a copy and we are still using Q2, so it would have affected our original Q2. And anytime we want to use the Q2 again, we can't use that Q2 again because we've messed up with the Q2 series. Okay, that's why we create a copy. All right, so the next question. So as you're doing it, I think somebody was asking a question on so I think I should just, the code cells exercises, sample, alerts, instructions, give which of the exercises, so that we can know which of the exercises, which question, what question number, so that we can know. All right, but the way most of our exercises are, just like this is supposed to be an exercise that we're working through, okay, is that you have your question. Now see this one, see question 5. You have, and this is the answer. So you're not supposed to run this cell, because once you run this cell, you lose your answer. This is your answer. So you're supposed to work towards getting this output. So in order to do that, you just need to create some cells that you would use for your workings. All right. So you can see here in question 4 here, I didn't run. This is the answer cell. This is supposed to be the answer cell, right? Which was there before. I didn't touch it. I just wanted to be sure that whatever I'm doing, okay, I have to arrive at this answer. That's to check that, okay, I'm actually doing the right thing. All right, so that's how most of our assignments are being structured. So you take notes, because once you run the answer cell, you might lose the original answer, and then you might not know if you're right or you're wrong. Okay, I just thought to mention that. All right, so let's okay, let's keep the questions coming. We'll attend to it during the Q&A. All right. So we can let's move to the next one. We're on question 5 now. Okay, so we want to start now. I've touched on I've touched a little bit of indexing. With this question, I'm touching on different concepts, right? But if you want the step-by-step explanation, you can also visit ours. So if you go to our YouTube channel, Data Gen Z Africa, All right. We have previous bootcamp playlists. We have our previous bootcamp playlist. So this actually covered Pandas. This is a Pandas package. The data input and output. This is for merge and join and concatenation. So all of those things, they were covered in depth in those explanations. All right. So just do well to watch the videos are also linked on the LMS as well. All right, so that you can have a better understanding of what we are discussing. Okay, and then you can also subscribe to the channel to further when we drop videos, you'd know that we dropped videos. All right, let's just move on quickly because we have to cover this. We have like so many questions, so I'm going to move faster. I'm just trying to take my time at the initial phase because this is like our first introduction to Pandas. So I'm going to move a little bit more faster. All right, faster rather. Okay, so the next question says filter all instances as Q5. So now looking at this series, this is Q4 4801. It wants us to filter out all the instances in what Q4 and that are greater than 2. That is 4 and 8. That's what I want my answer to be. Okay, so how do we do that? That's where the understanding of indexing using Pandas comes in. And how do you do your index? We have to save it as Q5. So I'm going to say Q5 equals Q4. To filter house Q4, you have to first of all you'd call the data frame, which is Q4. All right, then you have to set the condition. What condition am I using to filter? You put the condition in a square bracket. The condition is that all the instances in Q4 that are what? Greater than 2. So that's what I want as my results. So when I print out Q5, this would be the output. You can see that I have 4 and 8. So I've given it this condition, that is, give the old data frame. Now I want you to filter out Q4 greater than 2. So is that's the way you do like your filtering or indexing in Pandas. So looking at this answer, we can confirm with our answer here, which is correct. So we can just move on. All right, so let's move to the next question. So using Python now, we are getting into some small intensive data structures. So said using Python dictionary, create the following as a series called Q6 and using the state as the index. So we have this index and then the whatever value. So we are supposed to use our Python dictionary. So the first step to do, who can tell me what's the first thing to do here? What are you going to do if you have to approach this question? It says using a Python dictionary, create the following as a series called Q6 using the state as the index. What are you going to do? If you are going to, what are you going to do? Okay, I don't have time to take responses. Let me just move on. All right, so what you're going to do first is to create the dictionary, okay? They've given us the format of the data, right? We have to create the dictionary. So now your understanding of dictionary comes into play. If you don't know how to create a dictionary, then there's a problem. So you have to create this as a dictionary. And how do you do that? This is the key and this is the value, key value, key value. So there are different ways by which you could, do this. So we'll just do that quick. We can move on to the next phase. So I'm going to create a dictionary called states. All right. Now, when you want to create a dictionary, you have to use your curly braces. All right. So step 1 is what? Create a dictionary. So because I don't want to do too much typing, I'm going to just put this here. Okay. And then this will be my key. and this would be my value. And then comma, the next dictionary, the key, and then the value, like that. The key and the value. And the value. Okay, so I've created a dictionary. The next question says, I'm going to print out states. So you can see that I have a dictionary now. Into what? A series. So created following as a series called Q6 using the states as index. Now, there are different ways by which you could have done this, but I just went through this. So you could have actually created a list of states and a list of values and then use it to create a dictionary. So there are different ways, but I just went through this mode. So we have Q6 equals to pd.series. That's how to create a series, right? Then the name, our data set, and data set this time around is called what? The states. And then our index is what? Equals to the list of the states. The question says that using the states as the index. So I can change this one from states to something like else, like state pops or so that you will see that there's a difference between the index called state and the states I'm using. All right, so I've changed the names. I'm going to change this to state pops, like state population. I just use that. Okay, now the index now, I want to, I said using the state as the index. So all of this will be my index. I have to put them in what? In a list, just like what we did for the one up here. Okay, we have to put all the index in a list. So I'm going to put that quickly. Okay, so I don't like typing so much. That's why I'm just doing a shortcut. Okay, I believe we are understanding this. All right, so we have this, right? So now let's see what our QCs will look like. We'll see that we have our Pandas series. Can you see the Pandas series now that we have? You can see that it's no more a dictionary. It's no longer a dictionary. It has been converted to. By the time we get to our Pandas data frame now, you understand the difference of what we are doing. I mean, we appreciate it better. So now I can confirm that it's the same as my answer. Okay. All right. So I'm good. Now, the next question says, create a series called Q7 using states dictionary above. Use the list states 2 below as the index. Take a look at the new series. What do you notice? So this is another one, another state. This is a state. This is the first state. All right. All right. So, okay, because it specifies that I need to call the name of the dictionary states. All right, so I need to change that name that I used. I used states pop. So because this is referencing, says using the states dictionary above. So it has given me the name of the state. So I have to change what I've used earlier. So let me just change it to states, okay? Since I mean my name is it has to be states, maybe because would mess anything up. All right, so now let's do question 7 quickly. Let me add more cells because I will need them. It says that I showed using the 2 below as the index. Take a look at the new series. What do you notice? Okay, so I'm going to use, oh, sorry. So this is the first, the states dictionary above, okay? And it says use the list in states 2 below as this state 2 as the index, what do you notice? So I'm going to use that, use the list as the index as given. Okay. Series states. All right. It's a new series. I'll start to create a new series, states, index. Now the state 2 says I should use this Alaska, DC, North Dakota, South Dakota, and do that quickly. So I'm just going to copy this, and because it's the same name. Okay, it's different. Sorry. Let me just put the ones, because I don't want to type too much. So the first one says Alaska. Alaska is there. Okay, the second one says DC. DC is there. Oh. Okay, the next one says North Dakota. It's there. The second one says South Dakota. All right, and then the next one says Wyoming. Wait, okay, so now you see what will happen. Let me print it. So you can see that there is a difference between these two lists, even though it's the same dictionary. I mean, the same dictionary we're using, right? And who can tell me what these two series, who can tell me what the difference is? This one's we have the second, they're also 5. So can you tell me what is the difference? Who can try? Okay, somebody is trying. Okay, the question again. All right, I said, what is the difference between the first state and the second state that we just created? What's the difference between the first state and second states? This is the first state that we created. All right, this is the first state, state 1. This is the second state, state 2. What's different? It's the same value, but then there's something different about them. What's the difference? All right, Samuel, thank you. Set South Dakota. And because not in the first. Okay, so all right. And then we had Vermont's not in the in the first state that is not in this state, okay? All right, so because when we're creating the series, right? Though the states, right, we are using the same states, but because we are changing the index name, all right, so it picks the value of Alaska is what 724, which is that the value of this is not Dakota, South Dakota, because it does not have any value. It returned a null value, the NA, not a number. And the Wyoming, it's also, I mean, is there. So because when you're creating maybe a series or a database, I mean a data frame, right? Because the index was not in the initial table, it returned a null value. So you'll be encountering a lot of this when you're creating Pandas data frame. And part of what we'll be doing in subsequent classes is how to deal with missing values. When you're doing your analysis, you'll be coming up with, you'll be having encounters with NANs. How do you deal with them? Because in machine learning, it's also very key to know how to deal with NANs. All right. Thank you, everybody, for their attempts. Let us move. Question 8. What do you think would happen if we add Q6 and Q7 together? Add the two series together and call the new series Q8. Did you do what you expected? Now, we want to add the two together. Now, bear in mind that adding these two series together, though they have the same the same number of rows. This is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. Right, and the other one too is row 5. All would happen to this. Where's the Q6, Q8? Just say Q8 equals what's Q6 plus Q7. So you know, Pandas allows addition as well. So when you do that, when you do that, you discover that now we have two NANs. We have two NANs. You have the South Dakota NAN when the Vermont NAN. Because why? Why? Because when you add a null value to a number, it gives you a null value. Okay, so in analysis, that's why you try to get rid of null values, because it can mess up your results. Because now we have, you know, that there is a value for Alaska plus Alaska. 724 plus 724 gave us 1.4 million plus. But then when it got to South Dakota is what? Is NAN. But here there's no South Dakota here, so automatically you're getting an NAN. Here you have your North Dakota as a value. But here, not Dakota here. I mean, North Dakota is okay as a value, but there's no, okay, I'm mixing the Q, this is Q7, this is Q6, okay? Q6, North Dakota is the other one that gave us a value, I mean, an NAN is, okay, the Vermont. Now, when you see Q6, you see that there is Vermont 623,000. But when you get to Q7, no Vermont. So because there is no Vermont, automatically it's throwing not a number. So you have to be very careful with NANs. All right, let's move. Our time is fast spent. Thank you all for attempting that. So next we want to do some other task. Make a copy of Q8 so we can do this. So I don't need to explain that, right? Because we've done that before. So you just say Q8 dot copy Q9, drop the null values from Q9. Now we talked about how to drop missing values in our Pandas data frame. If you look at those videos, so how do you drop in null values? I mean, how do you drop null values? You use your drop any function. There is a drop any function that you can use to drop your null value. All right, and when you drop your null value, you set your in place function as true, so that your you have your Q9 dot drop any, drop not a number from drop any, and then you set in place equals true, so that it makes it's a permanent drop. So if I just do drop any, all right, let me just do drop any without in place, so that you see what happens. Now you can see that drop any drops, it has automatically drops the two rows that has not a number. But if I now check my queue now again, you still see that there's still any end there. You can see the difference. Now you still see that there's still any end. So it just dropped it. It just created like a view for people that are used to SQL. It created a view for me to see that, okay, I can actually drop any, but then what is actually happening on the original data, it has not dropped it. But when I set my in place function to true, and I run this cell, you see that it had dropped it permanently. True. So you have this, and now you see that permanently has been dropped. Now the next question says that add a name attribute for the series object as population. Now we want to give this series a name. This series does not have a name at the moment, so we want to give it a name so that we can reference the series by its name. All right. So to do that, you can just do dot name and just give it a name. All right. So let's do that quickly. Share dot name. So we are going to do. I run the in place function, so I will just say qn dot name equals set, give its name population. Now take note here, it's not giving it any name. If you look down here, you see that no name is given. But when I run this, you see what happens afterwards. Let me now run my answer cell. We have Q9. You can see now it has given it a name population. Now the next question says, add a name attribute for the index as state. So I want to give the index a name as well. So I'm going to say q9 dot index dot name. So some persons might be wondering that how are you supposed to know what code or what code to use at every point in time? So it comes with practice. It comes with, so as a first-time learner, so many of these things might be coming to you as so overwhelming. But the more you practice, and that's why we emphasize on, practice, do your assignment. The more you practice, you find out that, oh, I've done this before this way. How do I go? Even if I don't know how to do it, I'll just go online, ask how can you name an index, all right? And it gives you the code. So next time you want to do that, you know it at the tip of your fingertip, that you can just do that. Okay, so when I print out my Q9 now, let's see, it should look like this. So the index should have a name called states. Sorry, Q9. All right, so you can see that it has given the index a name. All right, so we have that. Now we are done with series. Let's move to data frame. So we are getting right into Pandas, and this is 9 o'clock. Let's just do sum and see how far we can go. Let me see the complexity of this. Dictionary, create a data frame, make a copy, remove the fourth column. Okay, I think we need to go through some of these because it's important. We need to do this. All right, so using the below Python dictionary, create a data frame called Q10. Now this is where is the dictionary now? I'm trying to look for the dictionary. Okay, the dictionary is not given, but I can use I have to create a dictionary from this. This is the answer. So I know how the dictionary should be structured. What do we do? Okay, I think it was not on that notebook. I've gotten the dictionary from somewhere else. Okay, I think I've gotten the dictionary from somewhere else. This is the dictionary. All right, so the dictionary, even if I had not gotten it, I know that my key is what? The key of the dictionary is the name of your column. And this, The Way of Kings, Game of Thrones, The Hobbit, and all of that is what's going to be lists. All right, the key is the column name. The lists the values are what the content of what will be inside that column. That was what I would have done if I didn't have access to the dictionary. So I'll just put the key would be year published, then this 2010, 1996, and all of this would be a list. Okay, so given this dictionary, all right, the question says create a data frame called Q10. Now, Pandas, I like I mentioned earlier, Pandas data structure is what data frame, and to create a Pandas, you do pd.data frame. Take note of the way it's written. Data capital letter D frame capital letter F. Data frame. The name of the value. I mean, name of the name of the data structure. This time around is the dictionary, right? Dictionary. The name of the dictionary is called data. That's what the data frame accepts. Then you can even set your columns. You can define your columns as well. But then by default, automatically, because I'm having a dictionary, it creates a column for me from the keys. So you can see here that we have the data. I want to change the column names, right? So because this is a dictionary, so that's the beauty of using dictionaries. Because it's a dictionary, automatically Pandas understands that the key is your column name. The keys are your column name and the values are the list inside. Okay. Let's find the column names separate, except I want to change how the column name should look like. Maybe I want to capitalize all of them and all of that. Okay, now we've done, so this is like a mini table that we are used to, right? That we've seen before. A tabular data. Now I want to see how to do some manipulations on this tabular data sets. All right. We're supposed to take a quiz break in 6 minutes, but let us move on. Do we have questions? Okay, we just have 2 questions, so let me just still continue. All right, the next question says, make a copy of the Q10 and call it Q11. So we know how to do that, right? Q10. So because we've been doing it over and over again, now you're familiar with the syntax. So that's how you get used to some of this syntax. Add a 4th column called copy owned and assign a scalar value of 1 to every row. So we want to create something that looks like this. Here we have this book column, year published, another column, Amazon rating, another column, and then we have rows. I'm sure we are familiar with this type of data structure, like the way we see in Excel and some of the CSV. All right, so we have this our role as the first record entry. So your column is what? Your vertical is vertical, then your rows are horizontal. So your role is just like a record entry. All right, so for people that are beginners that might not know the columns and the rows. Okay, so what we want to do now, I want to add a new column and assign values of 1 to it. That's what we're going to do. And so how do you add a column in Pandas? What you do is to use your indexing as well to do that. You can use your indexing to do that. So if I want to add a column, I'm going to just say Q11, the name of the column. Now, I'm not using lock, I'm not using iLock. Now, because we are entering into data frames now, I might decide to use lock or iLock, but when I'm using the column name, I might not have to use my lock or iLock. I can just reference the column name directly. So here, they said I should name it what? Column copies owned. So let me just copy it so that I get the exact, and then I'm assigning the value of 1 to it. So now let's see what our original Q1 looks like before without the column name. And now let's see what it looks like now. Q11. Now you see that I've assigned copy on. So you can see that the beauty of Python at a glance, you can just, assuming this is like 1 million records. So at a glance, you can just insert one into the entire 1 million record. Can create a column, and what you've with just this line of code, you've done your work. You don't have to start typing 111 or okay. I know in Excel you can write one, create a column, and then do your double click and drag down. All right, we have some shortcut, but Python can be very, very efficient when it comes to data manipulation. Okay, so now we've done this. Next, we want to do another one. Make a copy of Q11 and call it Q12. So I'm going to make another copy. Q12, Q11. Let's copy. Remove the fourth column called copy zone 4. So we are doing all of this so that we'll be able to know how to manipulate. Now that role I've inserted, I want to remove it. So how do I remove it? All right. I want to remove that role I just inserted. So there's this .drop function that you can use to drop your columns, right? You can just you can use your drop function to drop the columns, and then you remove that particular column. Okay. So I'm going to do that quickly. Or you can use your delete function. So you're going to say Q12 .drop. Now, what am I dropping? I want to drop the copy owned colon copies. I want to drop the copies owned colon. So I'm going to do copies owned. Now I'm going to set, if you check the doc string, you see that, sorry, drop. Now the label, that is what you want to drop. Then you have to set your axis. You know, when we're doing was it array that we're talking about, axis equals 0, axis equals 1. When you're doing additions across array, that when you're doing like a row like addition, you use your axis equals to 1, and then when you're doing your use your axis equals to 1. Then when you're using column like, you use axis equals to 0. But in Pandas it's different. Use axis equals to, now because we are working with respect to column, we use axis equals to 1. Axis equals 1. So this is telling us that we are referencing, we want to drop copy zone across the axis, across the column axis, right? We want to drop the copy zone across the column axis. That's why we're setting the axis equals 1. Okay, so if I just do this, right, and I don't set the in place, it does the dropping. But if I check my original Q12, I'll still see the column there. Consistency is there. So now I'm going to set my in place function so that in place arguments equals true, so that it becomes a permanent drop. So when I check it now, you can see that I don't have copy zone anymore. Okay. All right, so we are good. Now create a data frame called Q13 using the below nested dictionary of dictionaries. Note outer keys are interpreted as columns, inner keys are as row indices. Okay. I think we need to update the notebook on the LMS. Some of these dictionaries are not there. Let me check the original file. Okay. All right. I just got out the original file. So create a data frame called Q13 using the below nested dictionaries of dictionaries. So this is a nested dictionary because it has another dictionary inside. This is the outer dictionary, right? Then we have the Nevada 2001, 2.4, 2002, 2.9. Okay. Then we have while 2000, this is another dictionary. It now has another dictionary, 2000, 1.5, 2001, 1.7, 2002, 3.6. Now it says that Note our outer keys are interpreted as columns, inner keys are interpreted as row indices. Like I mentioned earlier, these are your column names, right? Okay, and these are words. It's just like you giving it a list. Usually, if you have not specified 2000 and 2001, it would have by default, and you have made it a list, by default, it does not give you this 2001, so it gives you 012, like it gives it its default location number. But because you want to have another name for the index, that's why you're using a dictionary. So I could have created this same table using a list, like having a list here, but then a list, you cannot specify the index name in a list. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. I could have done this. Okay, let's do this first. Let's do the first one. It says that create a data frame called set Q13 equals, once it's 12:30, I have to stop so that we take our quiz and questions. We have Q13 PD dot data frame pop. All right, and then I have my Q13. So you see this. I mentioned also that dictionaries are not what they're not when we're talking about the difference between lists, tuples, sets, and what dictionaries. Dictionaries are not ordered. You can see that the order has changed now. 2001, 2002, 2000. So it's an order. They are unordered. They don't have any specific order. Unlike a list is ordered. It has a location. All right. So, but dictionaries are unordered. So, if I now want to order it, I can reorder it using my sort. But that's not what I was told to do. So I'll just first focus on the question. All right. So what we just need to take note is that all the keys, this is a colon name, and all the inner keys are what the indices. But if you did not use a dictionary, let's see what would come up with our results. So if I didn't use a dictionary, that means I'll be having something like this as a list. This would have been a list. Okay. And this, I would have had something like this. And then let me just use something like sample, so that I'll just say PD that's frame pop. So let me run this first pop, and then run the second pop. So, okay, there is a problem somewhere. Okay, I have a mistake somewhere. So let me just sort out the mistake. 1.5 here. So you can see here that because it's a list, right? By default, your instead of 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2000, you're having 012 as your index. And then I could not automatically create the data frame. I had to set, because when you're creating a a table, your entries have to be the same length of that's the entry for this one has to be the same length of this one. So that's why I had to give it an empty value, because I want a null value to be there. All right. So I just thought to explain the difference between the two, why we are using a nested dictionary to create that data frame. So let me just remove this. Okay, I'll just leave that. All right. we can move further. Now you see that we have the same answer. That's using this, the first approach. You have this. Don't mind the arrangement. Dictionaries are unordered, so you can see we have the same answer. All right, so next question says swap the columns and rows of, we did something like that in arrays. Swap the columns and rows of Q13 by using the transpose method.t and save this as Q14. So Q14 is equals to Q13. It says we should swap the columns and the rows using transpose. So when you do your .c, you can just check the documentation on what .c does. Okay. The .t would swap, convert rows to column and column to row. So let me just do Q13.t and let's see the answer. So our answer should look like this at the bottom here. Should look like this. So Q14 becomes what? You can see that all our columns are now rows, our rows are columns. So that's another way to do your manipulation. So now next, change the columns in the Q14 data frame to be in year order earlier to later and save this as Q15. Now we can see that it's giving us, want to do some manipulation. Here it's not ordered. Okay, it's already year ordered. My answer is already year ordered. But then, assuming it was not ordered, how do we approach that? You could have just used your sort index. You use your sort index function because you're sorting across the columns. Use axis equals 1. So we are going to use our sort index function quickly, assuming this is ordered already, but this is our Q14. Okay, Q14 is not ordered. Thank God it's not ordered. So let me just quickly order it now. So it said we should. So you can see why I said dictionaries are not. The initial Q14 is this. All right, so the other sorted one is different. All right, so we're going to use our sort index quickly. Q14 dot sort index. You can check the documentation if you're not so sure of what it takes, the arguments. All right, but because of our time, we have to set the axis, and when we have to set whether ascending or descending. All right, so we're going to say axis equals 1 because we want to sort across, we are sorting the year, we are sorting across the columns, and then index, sorry, let me get the argument again. Ascending, okay. Okay, so we are supposed to sort from what? Say sort from earlier to later. That is, your ascending is equals true because we are sorting from earlier to later. So you see that it's been sorted now. 2000 now, it's now in front. 2001 comes next, 2002 next. Okay. All right. We can move on. We have 9 more minutes. All right, let's move to question 16. Index out Nevada in the Q15 and save it as Q16. So I didn't save this, so I'm going to save that quickly. It says that change the columns, blah, 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 and save it as Q15. So I'm going to change it as, save it as Q15. Okay. So now the question says index only Nevada in Q15 and save it as Q16. So how do you index? Like I mentioned earlier, to index only out one record, you can use your lock or iLock when you're using you're doing your row wise indexing. So because we are using the name now, what are we going to use? Who wants to try that? Want to use the index name? What are we going to use? Did we get a question? Want to index out Nevada, the role of the entire role. And are we going to use the iLock or are we going to use the lock? Want to use the index name? Okay, lock. All right. Is Samuel correct? Okay, Rachel said lock. All right. Okay, it shows we are following is the lock because we are using the location address name. So we're going to do Nevada. Okay, so you see what the result is now. So we can see that it's returning a Pandas series. We've indexed out just Nevada. So NaN, it's turning because it's a single row we are indexing. That's why it's showing us in this format. So we have it correctly indexed. When we check it with our answer, it's correct. Okay. The next question says select 2001 from Q15 data frame and save it as Q17. So did I save that? Okay. Select 2001 from the Q16, from the Q15. Okay, now this is the Q15. All right, that we sorted. One select only 2001. How do we select 2001? When you're selecting using your colons. So you can, when you're selecting using your colons, you don't have to when you're selecting columns, you don't have to use your lock and iLock. You don't have to, you can just select directly. So when you want to do select, we're going to say Q15, all right, square brackets, 2001, okay, Q17. So, okay, there's a key error. Let me see what Q15, let me print out what Q15, let me see what Q15 is saying first. Okay, this is Q15. We have 2001 as our column name. So why is it returning an, oh, right, okay, because it's a number. Oh, okay, I get. It's because it's a number. I'm seeing it as a number, not a string. That's where I'm having an error. So when you index it out, we have our values of the rows, that's the records of, if you see that 2001 Nevada is 2.4 and Y is 1.7. So we've done that and that's sorted. Okay, now one selects two rows, select Ohio row and 2001 and 2002 columns from Q15. Now you see that there is this it's now becoming more complex. So when you're doing your pandas, when you're working with a larger data sets, you'll be doing a lot of querying. You do all this select indexing, most especially when you're doing want to answer question, you're exploring some data, you're exploring the data sets, and you want to ask questions from your data sets. For example, you're working on a sales data, and you want to select those customers that that maybe make purchases over $10,000 over a period of time. You can use your idea of indexing to index out those, to query that particular record. All right, so that's where this indexing comes in handy. So here now, say we should select Ohio row. This is, let me print out the original Q15. This is how Q15 looks like. Okay, so now one index outwards Ohio, but then not, we only want 2000 and 2001, because when you index out Ohio row, it gives you the entire 2001, 2001, 2002, but once just 1000, 2001, 2002. How do you do this? So in Pandas, what you do is, first of all, let's index out the OIU, right? So how do you index out? You just say Q15. You can now decide to use your, because we want to index out a row, right? You can use your dot lock to index out the row. But first of all, you have to you have to define your columns. So you select the columns first, then you now do dot lock and select the rows. Okay. So you can do it that way. There are several ways by which you can arrive at your answer. You can use the dot lock, you can use the dot I lock using the index numbers, you can use the dot lock using the index name. Because we know the name, sometimes we might have 1 million records and you don't know the index number that that particular record belongs to. So that's when you use the index name. All right, so let's use our dot lock. But before you use our dot lock, we have to index out. And when you're indexing out to, well, let's index, because if I just index out 2000, all right, if I index out 2000, it gives me just 2000 row of 2000. But because I want row 2000 and 2001, in Pandas you put a double square bracket if you want more than, if you're indexing out more than one column. So you have to use a double square bracket. All right, so when you do that, you see that now I've gotten out 2000 and 2001 from my data set. But now I just want Ohio row. I don't want to include Nevada. All right, so I can now say this data set dot log, right, Ohio, and that gives me my answer. So there are different ways around it. You can do it another way using your index iloc to index out your record. You can use your iloc, but I don't want to confuse you using multiple functions. Let's just stick to the one we know, and because of our time. So we have the next question. 2000 and what? Oh, sorry, I mixed it up. 2001 and 2002. So it should be 2001 and 2002. So I knew because my answer was wrong. My answer was supposed to be 1.7, 3.6. I'm having 1.5. So let me just tweak it. And now I have the answer. All right. So now we are getting there gradually. So obviously there's supposed to be an employee data frame added to this particular file. So we're going to upload that to the LMS for the sake of our practice. All right. So now, apart from working with your own created data frame, you can also import. That's now when it comes to data input and output, you can import your data frames from you can import data frame from an external file. You can import it from CSV, you can import it from Excel, you can import it from different files, from HTML and all of that. So we'll be looking at how to do that in the next class, but this is the introduction to Pandas class, so we can cover just the basic concepts. All right, so the question says load the employee data frame, filter only the employees that make over 90,000 and save it as Q15. So there is this data frame that was created called the employee data frame. Let me just, because it's not here, I'll just go to the original file and copy it. So this is the data frame now. Let me put it here. All right, so this is how the data frame looks like. So I can just say employee. What's happening? My hand is getting so. All right, so this is the employee data frame. Now, they want to filter out only employees that that make above 90,000. That means okay, so yeah, the data frame was actually here, but I didn't yeah. So we want to index out the data, I mean the employee. Now you could have a very large data frame, larger than this, but here it's easy to see. Okay, we want to index, how do you get out only employees? I mean the employees that make over $95,000. So that's where your knowledge of indexing comes in. The first thing that comes to mind is what? You'd use the name of the data. You have to focus on your indexing outwards, the employee, the records of filter only the employees that make 90,000. So we want to focus on all the records that of the people that make only $90,000 dollars. We want to exempt other people. So we're going to use our knowledge of Pandas. So you can just say employees, right? Employees. We are going to put the condition greater than 90,000. All right. There was a mistake somewhere. Let me see what the error is saying. Oh, okay, okay. Maybe it's saying it as not supported, or it's saying it as a string. It's saying this as a string. Sorry, I made a mistake. Employees, such that employees' salary greater than 90,000. I wanted to index out the salary, employee salary greater than 90,000. So I had to use the name of the data frame, employees, then in square brackets, employee salary. That's the condition. I want to pick out the salaries greater than 90,000, and then since that you see that it's returning the is returning the employees that are greater than 90,000 naira. All right. Okay, so moving forward, let's just do the last question and then you try the remaining 10 questions on your own. All right, let's just do the last because our time is fast spent. The last question says select the names, only the names of the employees that make under 90,000 naira. So it's now we are getting into some little more data manipulation. Okay, this same data frame, employees. Let me first of all, employees. These are employees data frame. We want to select only the names of people that make less than 90,000 naira. So the first thing I want to do is I'll index out the employees that make less than 90,000 naira. And how do you do that? You say employees, and then you say employees salary less than 90,000. All right. So it gives you this, but then I just want the names. And how do I get the name? So it's kind of tricky here, but just try to pay some attention. To get the name, you have to put another square bracket and write names because it's saying this as a data frame. All right, so it can okay, name rather, not names. So it's giving me Jane and Billy, which is correct. So assuming I'm using I want to break this down so that you can see it. Okay, for every step you take is a data frame that is being generated. Like this is a new data frame. Okay, you can save it as another name like sorry, low earners. Earn. So this is like a new data frame that you have, all right? So we have the low earners. All right. So now I want to I could have done it straight, but I just want to break it down so that you understand better. Now you're having another data frame called low earners. You filtered it out from the original data frame. So, but I want to just get the name column of low earners. So I'll just say low earners, right? Name. Okay. And then I get the Jane and the. So instead of me writing low earners name and doing all this assignment, I could as well have just said, what is low earners? This is low earners now. Yeah, this is low earners. I could as well just do this and then I'm good to go. Instead of doing all the assignments and taking space. This is low earners, then the name. I want the name of the low earners. All right, so it's the same thing. Okay, so when you see this long code, you'll be thinking, oh, it's a lot, but then you're taking it step by step, and you see that it's the same. All right, at this point, we need to take the break, our quiz break. It's been a long, a long one. We didn't intend doing this stretch, but we just have to take the quiz, and then we'll see if we have questions so that we can attend to it. Thank you, Joseph. Joseph is also on the call. It's one of our instructors. Is helping out be answering questions in the chat. So we're going to take a quick quiz break. So go to Slido and join the quiz via this link. I'm going to present the link shortly. Let me get the link. Okay, I'm trying to get out the link for this Slido. Okay, are we ready for the quiz? It's been a long one. It's taking a while to load. Let me just try to refresh. If you're on the, you can start joining. Let me just copy and paste on the. I'll copy and paste on the chart. You can start joining. I'm trying to project, but then it's okay. Good. It just came up now. All right, we can join 3083273. That's the link. Let's do this very fast because of our time. It's just 6 questions. I just 1 more minute so that we can start. All right, okay, let us start. Like no other person is joining. Let's are we ready? Okay. Which command is used to import pandas library in Python? I believe we all should be able to do this. Which command is used to import the pandas library in Python? Okay, so all the persons that this is the first time everybody will be getting the answer together. That's good. Great one. Well done, everybody. But somebody was fastest finger. Andrew. All right. Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's move to the next question. Which of the following functions is used to read a CSV file in Pandas? So I didn't touch on this, but then you could use the idea of if you had watched the video, you should be able to answer this. Okay, which we have majority on B, and let's see the answer. Yes, it's actually B, read underscore CSV. So we'll be touching on that more next class. Let's move on. Andrew, Similolua, Carl, thank you all for that. All right, what's the difference between lock and iLock in Pandas? So we emphasized a lot on this. Can we do justice to this quickly? Okay, let's see. The answer is A. Lock selects by labels, like I mentioned. That's the label, the address, and then the iLock. Just remember, anytime you see iLock, it's position, index, integer position, index. Index, that I is like an index. So the position index is the iLock. Why the lock labels? So it selects by integer position. So the B is the reverse, which is wrong. The C, lock is used only for rows and I lock for columns. No, that's not true. It's used, you can use the lock for your rows and columns. All right. Okay. Next question. If data frame if DF is a data, how would you access the data in the first row, third column, using integer indexing? Integer indexing. So it should be able to help you filter out first row, third column. The answer is C. So this is wrong because integer index, when you're using your iLock, I've mentioned it, iLock, you'd use numbers. When you're using your lock, you use the values, that is the label of that particular address. That's the address, the label. All right. But when you're using numbers, the position, integer indexing, that is iLock. So that helps you to filter out all the locks here. So now down to first row, third column. The first row is what? When you are using your positional argument, first row is always 0. Okay. And then the third column, right, is what? 0, 1, 2. That is the 2, location 2. Third column is our location 2. That's why we have that as the answer. Okay, let's move to the next question. Are we ready? Number 5. Which function is used to combine two data frames along rows in Pandas? Rows in Pandas. So I didn't mention this as well, but then you could just intuitively. I mentioned something about combining, rows and columns using axes. So you could use that to also filter out the answer. Okay, so we have let's see. So the answer is the concat. When you're combining data frames, use the concat axis equals 0. So we have the joins too. We have the joins, right? But when you're doing the join, you don't you join and then you indicate the data set that you're joining together. All right, so you don't use them directly. So you have the join, you have the left join, you have the outer join, you have the inner join. If you go through the record, and we stressed on that, right? But then there's nothing like pd dot combine and pd dot append. The answer is pd dot concat, yeah. All right, so let's take the last question. To read a specific sheet from Excel into a data frame, which read underscore Excel. The page name, sheet name, tab name, and sheet number. Okay, so and the last question and the sheet name is the answer. So when you're reading data, we've not touched on that, but then it's good to read. Our brain a bit. Data frame from Excel, use the sheet name. It speaks Excel sheets, right? So intuitively, you could have just used the sheet name, all right, the sheet name because you can have in an Excel file, you can have many sheets, okay, and then you just want to use maybe one sheet in the Excel, all right. If the file name was there as well, you could have used file name, all right, or sheet name, file sheet name, yeah. All right. Thank you all so much for attending this. You all did great. We have Carl as the winner of today's quiz. Andrew Samuel Godwin, Simi Lolua, well done. You all did great, and everybody that attended, thank you all so much. So we'll just take the little time left to answer our questions. Do we have any questions? Let me check. Do we have any questions on the question board? Okay, about the exercise, some code cells lack instructions. Should we leave them as it and answer the questions and submit? So I don't know the one that we are talking about. Which code cell? Is it which of them? I just explained during the class how the format of the exercises are. Usually you have the questions and then you have the answers on another cell. So don't run the cells that have the answers. If not, you might not know what to do. So you have the instructions and then the answers. So you just walk towards the answer, just like what we're doing today, walking towards the answers. That's how you're supposed to attempt it. So if there's anyone that you're seeing that has some errors, just bring it to attention. You can reference the name of the assignment, and then if possible, you can give a sample of what the questions look like so that we know the exact one that you're referring to. All right, so the next question, could you explain why we use the dot copy and in what instance can I apply this? I don't know. I think the question has been answered on the chat. Are you satisfied I mean, I think you got the answer right on the chart. I think Joseph was answering. Okay, I mentioned it in class. I'll just reiterate. It's that when you're using a copy, it's just obviously creating a copy of your data sets. You create a copy when you don't want the original copy to be tampered with. In what instance can you apply this? So when you're doing your data analysis, maybe you're doing some data manipulation on like what you saw us did today when we're doing some of this analysis, when you have to drop a column from your data frame, or you want to delete a particular record, and you still want to use that data set again for something else. So it's just wise for you to create a copy and then you work on the copy rather than altering the original data frame. So that's why you create copies, and those are okay. So you use it when you need to reference the original copy of your data frame. Most especially use it during data manipulation. Maybe you're doing your a machine learning task or a data analysis task, and then after in the process of your data cleaning, you want to remove some missing values. You want to impute some, you want to impute some, you either remove your missing, delete some colons, remove missing values, impute some colons, or you might have to create a copy of the original data set, because what if what you are doing, something goes wrong somewhere? If you have not created a copy, eventually you have to start all your processes, every steps all over again. But if you had, it's just like the version control. If you have a copy of that original data set, or maybe you've cleaned the data set and you want to do some advanced manipulations on that data set for that, it's just wise to create a copy so that you'll be able to have a backup. All right, so I think that answers the question. All right. The person that asked the question, are you satisfied with the response? Okay, I'll take your non-reaction for a yes, or maybe the person is not online anymore. All right. Okay, so do we have any other questions before we call it a wrap? So it's a weekend. Wants you to use this weekend for catch-ups for people that maybe are still starting, or just try to use it for catch up with the past concept. So this bootcamp is very fast paced. There's so much we're covering in just a very short time. And so it's always very, very intensive. And that's why that's why it's a bootcamp. It's a bootcamp to, pique your interest in data analysis, and also to expose you to, core concepts of data science as a whole, data analysis as a whole. And you get, and once attending the boot camp like this gives you it gives you a very strong background when you want to even apply, you want to go further for maybe advanced degrees, or you want to do another project or something like that. So it gives you a very strong background. You've picked up all the basics, so it's just for you to keep building on what you've learned. Okay, so take all the lessons seriously, the assignments, ensure you go through the videos and try your ends. As we are doing this hands-on, I believe some persons are working alongside, we are all working together. It's not like it's a practical class, it's not like you're just listening to what I'm saying. You want to work along as I'm working along as well. All right, so I want to say well done to everybody. I believe people don't have issues with respect to the LMS anymore, because I've not heard from anybody, or we've not heard from any other person having any other issues. If your issues have not been resolved, please reach out to us so that we can trash that out quickly. And we've emphasized over and over again, please check your emails first. Check your emails, your spam, for access to the LMS. If you cannot find it, send us an email. We'll send it to you. If you're part of this program, we'll send it to you. And then if it has to be, some persons are already they have accessed the LMS, but then they've not been able to follow further. We've seen that they complain that they can't access the LMS, but they've been accepted. They have access to it, but it's just to further access. How would I say it now? Okay, to start their learning journey. Okay, Rachel, what's the issue you are having with the LMS? Have you logged in? Have you been accepted? What's the specific issue? Did you get the email? So why have you been able to enroll? Have you requested to join? Have you followed the process? You're planning to do so after. Okay, so please do. All right. We just want to know if the challenge is from our end. So all that you need to do, please ensure you do that. Once you get that email, follow the link, request to join. Once you request to join, we get your request and then you're approved if you're found to be on the program. And then once you're approved, you can just visit, like I just did today. I do that over and over again. Just go to my programs page on the website. This is the website. Once you've gotten the approval email, there's an approval email that will be sent to your mailbox or your spam. Once you've gotten it and you're logged in, just go to my programs, go to your programs, and then you see your programs, all the programs that the respective program that you are assigned to, that's been assigned to your account. And then you can, for this one, it's the data science bootcamp program. All right, so you can just go there and then it takes you down to the LMS. All right, I believe you got that. So you should be able to just click on view programs and then you're on the LMS. All right, reach out. Try as much as possible to join. And if there are any other issues, please just don't hesitate to reach out. And we would give you the necessary guidance. We have come to the end of today's class. It's 10 o'clock on the dot, West African time. Thank you all for joining and do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great day.